Alright, so now we're continuing the Tower of Zot, the first dungeon of Endwalker. So first, congratulations for reaching Endwalker. I think definitely deserved. Now, this dungeon is probably the hardest, I think, in the entire game at the date of this video. So, um, definitely a place we can practice. I think the final boss is extremely difficult. We may die here, and I've done this many times and continue to. I've died many times trying to do it correctly. So with the trust, try to level it to 90. So I can guarantee you it's a very difficult dungeon. So don't get disappointed. It's kind of the hardest of Endwalker. The other one would be easier than this one. And apparently Square Enix has a tradition of making this first dungeon very difficult. Like All Mr. Switch, one of the hardest of Shadowbringer as well. But this one I think is definitely a level above. It's a very difficult dungeon. Don't be afraid to get help because it's all bosses are hard, and the last one is very hard. Again, I don't think there's a harder boss in the mini boss in the game I can think of at the moment. It's more difficult than this one. We're going to arrive at the first boss soon. I think there's a few more of them. Plus, in first dungeon, people tend to be not necessarily have the best equipment. Making it even harder. Here the three bosses flying, the three witches. We're doing the group one by one here because the trust member are not always very reliable in terms of getting those without dying. Normally with Ryanje, this it's fine, but there's a bit of randomness in their performance. I recommend taking Ishtola, by the way, for this dungeon. I think it's very good. Right, in the last group. First boss is here, just after that. So this first boss is very difficult. Frankly, I'm not even sure I will do it until correctly because you have to react very quickly. It has multiple mechanics that will come back in the last boss with Vengeance, and I think you have to look at what she's casting because she has various attacks, and then she's going to, let me show you, like she's always going to come back to this position. So at the beginning, she will start by doing kind of demonstration for mechanics, and you'll see she has a cross mechanic with electricity. She has a fire mechanic, a poison mechanic, all different AoE shape, and then she's going to cast 3 in a row, but they're going to be centered at different places. One center where she is, one centered around here, and one centered around here. And you have to read which um, uh, ability she's using to be able to know what you're supposed to do. So that's extremely hard because, if, for example, she casts a big AoE away from her, you may not realize the time you can see it. You have no time to react to it, so you have to anticipate. And if you're too far away or too close, then you're also going to fail. So it's very, very difficult. We'll try to follow Ishtola a bit because she's typically is good at avoiding those things, but you're going to see this is very, very difficult to follow all this. So don't be, don't feel bad if you don't make it. It's a very difficult boss. The first one is Blizzard. Blizzard is a kind of a cone AoE. Second is Fire. That's a donut. Then it's Thunder. That's going to be a cross. And then Poison is a half arena AoE. So that's the 4 different attacks that she has. So there's Fire. So she's going to throw fire. Fire is going to be so you have to be here because she's going to do a fire mechanic. You see, look at the transmass coming there. And you have to avoid the cross during the fire because the cross exactly is the fire in the middle. This is very difficult. Now that was with 2. And next time it's going to do with 3 in sequence. You're going to come back at the starting point. You're going to see. Where she starts, where she launch. Blizzard. Blizzard. That's the ice triangle AoE. Second is Bio. Bio is the half thing, and the second is Thunder. That's the cross. So you have to go to this one here, and the 3 attack happen at the same time. So again, it's quite difficult. Great anticipation, understanding what she's casting. She's resetting here. A bit of time with some damage. And she's going to start again the sequence. Alright, the first one is Fire. That's going to be the donut. So Fire is going to be there. So you have to be this donut here. Second is Blizzard. And then one is Bio. So you have to wait here and then run very quickly to the fire. There's very little time to do that. At the same time, we'll have Blizzard showing there. Avoid the ice. There's a lot to avoid and a lot to think about. On the flip side, this is a great training boss to learn to read, again, Bio. That's going to be look at it one more time. Okay, Thunder. That's going to be the cross. Then Fire over there, so we'll have to go there, and then it's Blizzard, so you can go there. Because this is going to be you have to be in the middle of the fire here, while avoiding the cross. We're done here. I noticed Uriamj was moving more in that than others, so perhaps follow Uriamj. I think that's probably a good advice here. To give a bit more heads up of moving. And that was the first boss. Again, a very difficult one. Great way to practice reading cast bars and memorizing different attacks, because you have to memorize those 4 attacks pattern, and you're going to cast 3 of them, and you have to follow it. It's clearly you know, at the very upper kind of type of difficulty for this 4-man dungeon. The second one is a bit easier. Hopefully that's a slightly good news. So here I do not advise to do the 2 groups at the same time. The trust entity can die quite easily. You do a lot of damage. You can take your time. Next to is even worse actually. Next group. Treasure coffer next to the door here, and 2 more groups. Takes a bit of time. And the last group before the second boss. The second boss is the easiest one in this dungeon, but I think everything's relative. And it also has 3 different mechanics, so probably more than a number of other bosses on 2, but 3. Alright, done here. We have one last chest before the door. Alright, so the second boss has 3 different mechanics. One is actually a quite pretty funny one. She's going to create a copy of herself, and I think interestingly, all the trust member would also transform into copy of herself. So it's quite funny. Everyone is dressed up like she is, and you have to look among the copies for the one which is actually not moving, because they are all moving, making some movement, dancing. One is not moving. You have to go to this one. You can also follow trust members, but I think here Square Enix wanted to make it a bit difficult. So the trust members move very late. So we'll follow ENG, but you'll see on purpose they move late to make it more difficult to follow them, because obviously Square didn't want players to follow the trust member. They want players to think by themselves and find the solution. But you can still follow the trust members, but you have to move quite quickly. Then you have another mechanic, which is a spread mechanic, because, and it's going to stop time, and then for every player, one by one. I think it's very important for that phase that everyone is around her without aligning, right? So don't be next to trust members during this mechanic. You have to be away from trust members. And when I mean away, it means away from a line between trust member and the boss, because she's going to do a line attack and you don't want to be in that line. So typically you have more boss like this later in Endwalker, so it's good to learn that. Every one is going to be on one in front, one behind, one left, one right? So we're going to pick the last spot so that we are correctly around her. Then I get quite fast, you have to avoid them. Again, we have to move away. This is very fast, you have to move very fast on this one. Alright, now we have to go to the part when there's no lights. The rest again, and really be at the corner because everything is going to explode. You're going to see the safe area is very, very small. And you have to move away from this one. Alright, this is the one where we have to be spread out. Try to spread out away from others. And here I'm paralyzed, I can't move. So I'm attacked, that's normal. We're going to have again the confuse mechanic. This time we're going to be transformed. Right, look around, we're going to do all of copies. And also which one is not moving, which is going to be this one. And you have to be in the right at the bottom here. You see it's very, very fast. You can follow trust members, but it's not easy to follow because they really move at the last moment. And let's go back to the center and use the stop mechanic. That's right. Then you see a stop, again be spread out. I mean, there's nothing else to do here. Again, I'm frozen, I can't attack. I'm going to attack me, but that's normal. I'm going to do one last time the confuse, and we're going to finish her. Ah yeah, it's confused, being transformed, and once transformed, and we have to look around who is not moving. That's this one. We run in this direction. Up the far head of the arena. Alright, let's finish it. Again, the stop for spreading here. That's finished. All right, you see, the second one isn't too difficult. I think it's as long as you can react to this confused mechanic. I think that's probably the hardest part. I think the stop mechanic is quite easy as long as you spread. Clearly, you have to react quickly and observe the different copies. In the 6 copies, only one is the right one. The one's not moving. Okay, now we have the last part of this dungeon with pretty strong enemies actually. AoEs to avoid. This part is a bit long because the enemies have a lot of health. It will take time to kill. There's a chest here on the left. To remind you, they're all Gallian Empire enemies. Using AR. And we have the last chest here, this time on the right. Another 2 enemies with the platform in the middle. Now the last group, which has one of the spider robot that you may remember from Snowblood. We didn't arrive at the third boss. So the third boss is a very bad surprise, because if you didn't like the first or the second one, it's the first 2 are coming back and the third one on top. So you have 3 different bosses to kill. and unfortunately there is no kind of a cheesing solution where you can just decide to kill the weaker one first. You cannot do that because they will be resuscitated if you do that. So this is the main boss. I'm going to put a mark on it so that we remember where she is, and she will summon the two sisters we already fought. Right, are going to come, and they also have to be killed. However, you cannot kill the other two first, because if you kill the other two first, she's going to bring them back to life. So the normal way to do this boss is to kill the yellow one first, and for the yellow one is the strongest, she has the most HP, and it's very annoying. She casts 3 types of pattern, 3 of them of which are very difficult to avoid. And in the meantime, the two sisters continue to attack, and in particular you'll have the famous line A with the second boss, which are extremely fast and extremely hard to avoid. You have to move very, very quickly on top of it. So the 3 patterns, you would see there is a big donut followed by a difficult like AoEs everywhere. There is another one which is very hard to attack if they want to get with some lines. So all of them are very difficult. Definitely require some practice, a lot of practice to do that. So hopefully I will do it correctly, but you're going to see it's very difficult. Alright, so first is just the damage as you can here. The sisters are going to come. The 2 sisters are here, see they are right. And she's randomly getting the mechanic, so that there's no order here. Starting with reflect. Alright, so that's the... You have to run on the one end, avoiding all those AoEs. Oh my god, we're going to die. And on the other direction, we have to go back. We almost died here. So you have to go south, then north. And here be ready for the AoEs. Be careful of the very quick line AoEs of the second boss. If they target you, you have to move away very quickly. Like this. Alright, again we have another mechanic. Alright, this time is going to be all the AoEs, you have to avoid them. It's very hard to avoid, there's a lot of them. This way the easiest of the 3, and you have a stack here at the end. This is probably the easiest of the 3, again, relatively speaking. Again, be careful, remember the AoE attack of the second boss are coming. You need really to move fast in this phase when it switch targets you. She didn't target us this time. And you have the 3rd mechanic is coming. Give it to the donut. Followed by a line. It's also a very difficult one. You have to start in the middle and avoid this chain of lines. And you have to end up at the right spot, and then you have to spread. This is extremely difficult to avoid. Boy, this is the hardest one, I think, among the 3. But we should see again the first one here. Alright, finish the square again. So remember, you are starting north. Okay, you have to go south first. avoiding all those AoEs. You have to be south until this meteor that explodes. And you have going to appear here, and you have to run on the other direction, like you have to run north. That's quite difficult. Alright, now the main boss is dead, so we've done the hardest part. But then the other two will have to start a new mechanic as well. The second one to kill is the tall one. Keep the small one for last, because once she's last, she's going to start to cast the annoying mechanic we saw earlier again. So the second one to kill is the tall one. Alright, so now she's alone. She's going to start casting a whole mechanic. Thunder, that's the frost. Alright, so it feels to me that they made it a bit easier. It's possible that they realized that it was a bit overtuned. I actually found it quite a bit easier than I thought it would be. Also because the last two didn't really throw much mechanic. I think they used to actually, once the main one was dead, they used to actually start their own mechanic in that time, but they haven't done that, so I'm not sure if we were lucky or they were removed. But clearly the yellow one is the difficult one you want to kill first. Once she is dead, normally the rest is not the hardest. But you see clearly one of the most difficult boss in the game. So if you finished it, congratulations. See you next time.